Redditors who have given their SOs another chance after getting cheated on. How's your relationship now? Story 1. My SO got cheated on early in her college life. She said it was easier to forgive than one would think. She caught him again later, and it was done with. The weird part is that it's been like 8 years, and he still has a thing for her and thinks of me as the guy with his ex. Which I am, but it's weird to be upset that someone is dating your ex who broke up with you 8 years ago for cheating. Answer, my wife's ex is sort of the same way. We've been married over 5 years and dated for like 3 or 4 years before that. Her ex was a loser, always running around on her. Typical college guy shoot when we actually were in college. Now they're in their 30s, and he has on numerous occasions tried to message her via email, Facebook, through her siblings. I mean, she's great, but, almost a decade on, it's time to get over it. Story 2. Over, we were fudge miserable for another 3 months. Then it ended. We're now sort of friends when we can be bothered. He tried to cheat on me with his ex, but she turned him down. I found out when I found texts from her basically telling him he needed to sort himself out and stop dicking me around. I never met his ex, but if there's some sort of general sisterhood, solidarity type award, she fudge deserves it. Story 3. My girlfriend since high school, we were in college at the time, made out with a guy in Mexico. The next day she called me long distance crying and told me everything. She got tipsy, they were dancing at a club, and she made a stupid mistake. At the time, we broke up. I was so angry I just broke up with her on the spot. I was in a parking lot in Nashville with a long distance calling card breaking up with my girlfriend. It took a little bit for me to realize strangely what an awesome person she was for confessing. I later learned that all of her friends there tried to talk her out of calling me and confessing, but she called me anyway. We had been dating for 3 years at the time, so it hurt. After college, I moved to Chile for 4 years. We kept in touch. I moved back to the U.S. because I had a shot at getting back together with her. We've been married for over a year now and have a 8-month-old daughter. She's the best thing that has ever happened to me. Edit, my story is kind of unique. I believe that someone who cheats might always be that way, but there are exceptions. Also, if someone is cheating on their SO to be with you, then get ready to be cheated on later on down the road. Story 4. Cheated on me again, lied to me about why she wanted a divorce, left me for some older washed-up dude at her work. Needless to say, I found myself in a much better position and feel like I woke up from a crazy fucking dream all these years. She's also a Redditor. If you're reading this, Mel, I hope you piss a kidney stone. Story 5. She cheated on me with one of my best friends. I actually figured it out rather quickly. I gave her a second chance, even paid for couples counseling, and tried to open up the lines of communication. In the end, though, turns out that she never stopped seeing him, and I broke things off after she tried to convince me that it was a polyamorous relationship and I was being polyphobic. She still sees nothing wrong with what she did, and I haven't talked to her since. We were together for 2 years. Story 6. She promised me she wouldn't talk to him anymore, then breaks up with me saying she's not happy and just wants a break, then removes me from FB. I guess so I wouldn't see her picture posted the next day with the same guy at a football game. This was last week. Her Instagram says the date when they started, which was 5 days before we broke up. So it's not good. Edit. Thanks for the kind words, strangers. I'm pushing through slowly, but still pushing. Story 7. In jail, I told her I couldn't do it again because I just couldn't forget how much she hurt me the first time. She got caught a month later trying to deal pills during the youth service at a local church. Turns out nobody bought from her, and it was the kids that called the cops. Good job, kids. Stay out of substances. Story 8. Dead, I wanted to work it out, but I just never got it right in my mind and turned into a jealous douche. It was awful, and she left. Thank God, because I was just stupid back then. No regrets because I am in a good place now, but I would never do that again. It never goes away. Edit. I laughed a little too hard at these comments. The question was, how is your relationship? Not how is the SO that cheated. I have never eliminated a person. Guys like me don't last in prison. Good times Reddit. Story 9. I am no longer with her, but I did try to give her another chance. It just doesn't work. Once that initial trust has been broken, it's impossible to keep your mind from wandering and thinking she's out sucking some other dude's male body part whenever you haven't heard from her in a while. Story 10. He took a year off drinking and is now able to have a night where he has a couple drinks, and it doesn't escalate to getting blackout tipsy like he was when he did Shady Shoot. He worked his jerk off to be a better person in general. It wasn't just for me, it was for him and his future, which I think made the biggest difference. We worked intensely on our communication. I grew up very emotionally closed, and we didn't communicate well at all as a result. 6 years later, we are 1,000 times happier than we were before he cheated. It brought us closer. That being said, I was typically the one to say cheating is a 100 deal breaker. I understand my experience is unique to this situation, and not everyone has such results. Edit. My disclaimer at the end here was merely because I often see people get berated on Reddit for taking back a cheater. I didn't want my story to be misconstrued as blanket advice. I'm happy to see here that there are lots of stories like mine. Some people can indeed change. Answer. Are you the female version of my BF? I was in your boyfriend's shoes and also ended up slowing down on my drinking. I also stopped drinking with people I couldn't trust. We have the same improvement on both ends when it comes to communication. I can't speak for your BF, but I know personally I'm insanely grateful for this extra chance to smarten up. I don't even know what I was thinking back then anymore. Story 11. Our relationship is great now. It's been over 4 years since the cheating, and what I think really made it work was me getting my own apartment in a shoot unit and him seeing it when about half my stuff was moved in. It really hit him hard that this was where we were. He said he absolutely did not want his GF and son living in an apartment. He wanted better for us and vowed to change 100, and he did. Overall, we have been together 13 years and have been engaged for the past few years. No big rush on getting married. We are just happy with the way things are now. I trust him 100, and he trusts me as well. I let him go out lots where my friends can understand that. I tell them that if he wants to cheat, he will find a way, and I trust that he won't. I'm not into leashing anyone. If they want to risk it, they know the consequences. But yes, have come a long way. Answer. This hit home. My boyfriend and I dated 6 years ago for 2 years. We were apart 2 years and we have been back together 2 years again. We have a son. When we dated before, we were both young and I had suspicions that he was cheating, but I actually just had it confirmed 2 weeks ago. I confronted him and unlike before, I didn't ask but said, I know you did and I need closure. Talking about it with him surprisingly felt better, and I honestly don't think he has messed around this time. It's just hard to shake the feeling that I wasn't enough and that I may not be still. Especially now with all of the self-esteem issues that come with being a new mom and physical changes and losing so many friends who aren't able to relate to my lifestyle anymore. Sorry to unload all of this on you. I just wanted to say from someone in a similar situation that I appreciate you sharing your story. It really gives me hope. Good luck to you and your family. Story 12. I've forgiven, but I have never forgotten. Things are much, much better now, but we had to pull our chute together in the face of something much bigger than our marriage, taking sudden custody of my stepson. It's taken a long time, but the trust has been rebuilt. Still, there is a small part of me that will never get over it, which I have been open about with him. Answer, I'm not dealing with cheating, but I'm dealing with the fallout of my husband's alcoholism. He's in treatment now and seems to be turning his life around. We're expecting a baby. Things are getting better, yes, but there are a few things he did while at the height of his drinking, and the lying that goes with addiction, that's really the biggest issue for me in this whole thing, that I can never, ever, ever forgive him for because he acted so selfishly. He knows this, and we plan on working on it more once he steps down a few levels in his treatment. One thing at a time. I am quite resentful that having your trust broken means that you have to be the one to work hard on rebuilding it. My husband got to do whatever he wanted, act irresponsibly, think of nobody but himself, and ruin my trust. And I have to do a lot of work on top of that to be okay. The resentment is tempered because he's doing a lot of work now too, but it has taken a while for my anger about it to cool. Story 13. Been around 7 years, and it is still really hard for me to trust her, despite everything being great for 7 years. Doesn't help that she had lied and cheated on numerous occasions, and I would imagine that is only what I found out about. I don't know if I will ever be able to get her a ring. If I could go back, I wouldn't give her a second chance. This is a throwaway, so I won't be logging back in for replies. Answer. I think sometimes it doesn't seem to click with someone who was cheated, either a once-off or longer affair, that any trust built up prior is gone and needs to be rebuilt. It's like a tall building. You take a big chunk of foundation and base from the bottom suddenly, and you're going to have a wobbly fudge tower. If you're lucky enough that it doesn't fall over, you can't just shove a few bricks down there as a quick fix because it isn't stable. If only one person is working to rebuild it, they're going to eventually get tired of lugging bricks around all day and give up on the building. You need to slowly and carefully build up the base and foundations of your building together, not cutting corners or using shoddy materials, but do it right. Edit. I don't know all the sides to your situation or anything about you at all, bar a few sentences on the internet. But the point I was trying to make is that if you're doing all the heavy lifting while your SO sits back drinking a Pepsi and supervising your hard work, then maybe it's time to get the fudge out of the crash zone and let that building crumble. Story 14. I found out my husband cheated and then admitted I had also. I wanted a divorce. He didn't. So I agreed to go to counseling, but also went and met with a divorce attorney. I don't know if it was the greatest or worst divorce attorney, but she spoke so hatefully of my husband that it angered me. And it was then I realized I still loved him. I started putting some effort into the counseling, and both of our walls came down. It was hard, but it's been 7 years, and we've had 2 kids in the past 18 months, and we have the best marriage out of anyone I know. We're the people other people want their marriage to be like. I trust him completely. We cheated because our relationship was shoot, and we weren't putting any effort into it. Now, it's wonderful, and I wouldn't do a thing to screw it up. Story 15. He told me October 2014 that he had cheated on me around November 2011 with a mutual friend. We had been together a year at that point. They were too tipsy to have intimacy, but they wanted to, and they shit-talked me the entire time. He told me all that. I said I would try to work through it. Things were relatively good at that point. Couldn't get over that, along with many other things. There were a lot of cool things about this guy, but as a boyfriend, he was just terrible. I broke up with him at the end of this summer, citing many other reasons that I had already tried to address, and the cheating. We tried to stay friends. When I told him I had started seeing somebody, my now BF of like 2 weeks woohoo, like 3 months after we broke up, he said he resented me and said all of my reasons were bullshit. The cheating in particular, because I was totally flip-flopping about the cheating thing. You were okay with it before, and now you're not? Bullshit. You just said that to make yourself not feel bad about breaking up with me. And then he said he needed to stop talking to me for a while. Yeah, sorry, I tried to deal with it, but I realized I really don't have to deal with it, and I don't owe you that effort. We're not friends now. That reaction and looking back now at everything else in our relationship made me realize he was not the best person to me through those 5 years. He was not as respectful as he or even I thought, and while I'm sure he cared about me, looking back, he did a lot of shoot things, and he'd even say stuff like, I don't know why I'm not crazier about you, which he then pretended to have not said. Lesson: don't stick with someone who's not great to you. Don't settle. You can totally do better even if it's by staying single. I was the happiest I'd been in years within a week of breaking up. Story 16. I got suspicious after I caught him going through my phone, so a few weeks later I went through his and discovered that he had. I always told myself I would never stay with someone who did that, but we had been together for so long and I loved him so much I thought I could get past it. Every time he would stay out late or be ambiguities with where he was or who he was with, I felt suspicious. Every time we would go to the bar and someone would flirt with him, I would feel resentful and jealous. I think the worst part about it was knowing that he had been able to lie to me for so long, have intimacy, tell me he loved me, and looking back knowing that he knew what he had done and still kept that inside him made me realize deep down that I could never trust him again. We continued dating, hating each other for a few months, and eventually he dumped me. It's all really for the best because he never really cared about our relationship as much as I did, in my opinion, and I wasn't strong enough to end what should have ended the moment I found out that his male body part was more in control of his actions than his head. Answer: I always say it isn't the intimacy that destroys you, it's the lies. And they start long before the intimacy usually. I felt like I was living with an alien who took over the body of someone I loved. He and I were very intimacy active and in all sorts of freak ways. He just wanted to the validation of being able to put his male body part in someone new. Story 17. It's rough. I try my best to trust him, but it's hard. I don't have much confidence in myself anymore because he cheated. No matter how much he says I am his girl, I can't help think that he'll up and leave. I feel dead inside. I have trust issues. It sucks. Answer: it took me a long time, but when I finally realized my ex's cheating wasn't about me, it was great. He can say he cheated because you did XYZ, or you weren't this enough, or too much of this. But when it comes down to it, it's a choice he made. He could have communicated or done a million other things. He chose that. Just like how every day you choose to not cheat or you choose an outfit. It doesn't matter if you are his girl or not. He could still make that choice. And if he doesn't, it doesn't mean that girl is his girl. It just means he cheated and is a douche. Story 18. I don't get how people can try again, but good for those who made it work. I couldn't even be friends with my ex that cheated on me. She asked me if we could, but I told her, no, a friend is someone I know I can trust, and I just can't trust you anymore. Answer: my ex told me she cheated as we were breaking up. She still thinks we are friends, but I have no interest in keeping a friendship with her. I found a new SO. We have been together over a year now, and I have never been happier. My trust in people is restored and amazing now, but I will never trust my ex again. Don't really care about her. It was compounded by the fact that we were together for 4 years, and 3 weeks after we split, she had a new BF. I didn't mean male body part to her, But now I have a partner that makes me feel like I'm the most important person in the world and that I'm super special and attractive. It's nice. Not every girl's the same. You just got unlucky. Most people get unlucky. You just got to keep on keeping on. Story 19. Non-existent. I ended up breaking up with him several months later for narcissistic tendencies, anger issues, and inability to communicate. I wish I had dumped him the second I found out he cheated. Would have saved me a lot of heartache. And after we broke up, he blew up my phone, called my parents, and showed up on my property unannounced. I had to change my phone number, and my dad gave him money to leave us alone. Story 20. Toxic. We were engaged when he cheated. We are not now. He's manipulative and has control over everything I do. For example, if I don't text him back immediately, he assumes I'm somewhere I shouldn't be. If my phone goes off and I'm with him, he asks who it was and what they said. If I try to reason with him for the sake of my privacy, he turns it into me hiding things. He's scared I will cheat on him to get back at him for cheating on me. He won't take initiative to be a better person and treat me better, but also refuses to see me with someone who will. It's a roller coaster every day, and I've tried so hard to move past what he did and make something work, but I can feel myself slipping away. I just want to be myself again. I want to be able to give myself to someone the way I did for him, but for the right person, someone who will respect me and cherish it. Sometimes life just sucks. It gets better, right? Right? Story 21. The first time was online stuff, picture stalking. I forgave him. Second time was real, sleeping with another person. An insane person at that, who faked a pregnancy, still tries to contact him. Our relationship never fully recovered. I love him, but do I trust him? Not really. Even when things are amazing, it is always there. I will always know that he broke my heart, that he hurt me more than I could have ever imagined, that he broke my trust. It never goes away. And sometimes the worry creeps back up, sometimes the anger. It is hard not to throw it in his face. It is hard to forgive him. IDK, it feels to me like you broke a glass, and even if you glue all the pieces back together, it will never look the same. There are still cracks, and it is never going to be as strong as it once was. Story 22. I'll be the exception to the rule and say, it's really, really good. The trust is back. Didn't expect that to ever truly happen. We're closer than we've ever been, and our relationship and love grows every day. It really sucked. It did. But we loved each other, recognized the mistake, and wanted to try. So we did, and it worked out. We're loving and supportive. We're not jealous or suspicious. I don't worry that she's cheating or anything of the sort. The biggest remaining negative of it is simply the stigma of a relationship in which cheating happened. If someone knows, they tend to judge the relationship for it. I can't really blame them, but it sucks because they don't know our story. Their judgment is misplaced in this case. That alone can cause damage to the relationship if someone decides they know better and try to force their views. Fortunately, I don't keep people who can't respect me, my decisions, or my relationship in my life. TLDR, really good. Definitely the exception, not the rule, but I don't ever regret sticking through it. Staying through being cheated on is probably the dumbest decision I've ever made, as far as statistics would tell you. It's also the best decision I ever made. Feel free to ask questions. I know made it through cheating in a long-term and happy relationship now, and willing to talk about it isn't super common. Might have slow responses due to being a throwaway and post-timered. Answer. I'm curious what the initial circumstances were. Was she tipsy at a bar and got carried away? Had you only been together a short while and she had a work thing on the side? Was she unhappy in the relationship at the time? How did you find out? Did she tell you, or did you discover it accidentally or on purpose? Good job for communicating and working through it. Story 23. Walked in on him towards the end of an intimacy session with his ex in December of 2011. I can still smell the subtle sense of vodka in private area. Being the naive, crazy in love fool that I was, I gave him another chance. He was my first, and it was perhaps because of this that I thought our connection was karmic. I felt like I knew him in a past lifetime, and surely that feeling doesn't come by often. So of course I have to salvage this, right? He couldn't let go of her though, as I found out after everything happened. In May 2012, he skipped out on a trip with me to stay home. We were both living in our college town, and he decided to go to EDC and then go back to his hometown instead of meeting me back at our town. And I found out later it's because he was spending time with her. But at the time, I make the trip alone, and we spend my entire trip just talking on the phone and texting as he apologizes and airs his woe is me grievances to me about how he's so scared of how much he loves me he's afraid to get hurt. I still couldn't let go of him despite the transparency of his BS, because I was just that weak and blind. July of 2012, we were still together, but on the rocks. Didn't know he was seeing talking to ex at this point. Apart from the December incident, I thought communication with his ex was done, although I had suspicions here and there that he was quickly able to cover for. I get an abortion for both our sake, his words, but I would have elected for the abortion on my own anyway. I just don't like that he made it seem like it was his idea decision first. That was 2 days before my birthday. A week after the abortion, he breaks up with me, leaving me alone in my emotional distress over the procedure. When I needed him the most, I was pro-life before it happened to me, and having to do something that went against my beliefs made me feel so torn and dissonant. Funny how just one direct experience changes your stances. But I digress. Found out he moved in with aforementioned ex in the beginning of 2013. Found out from mutual friends that he cheated on her with a coworker. Some people just never change. December of 2013, he tried to act like nothing happened between us, and he texted me saying Merry Christmas. At this point, I had actually dated and broken up with another guy that I was working to get over. We kind of tried at being friends, meeting up to just hang out. Yes, just platonic hanging out, maybe once a month. During these hangouts, I was very blunt with him and straight up asked him if he was talking to or cheating on me with his ex on this or that occasion. Hence how I found out about the aforementioned after-the-fact revelations that the time I walked in on him wasn't a one-time thing. I start dating a wonderful guy in December of 2014, and suddenly I wanted absolutely nothing to do with my ex anymore. He's texted me nonsense and memes on random nights. I haven't responded. It's gratifying to realize that the guy I thought I would never get over in my entire life is now on the other end, anxious about getting a reply back from me when I couldn't care less about him. I have yet to respond to any of his messages anymore since March of this year, and I don't plan on it. Whenever he does contact me, my current SO always knows about it, and we just laugh at how stupid pathetic he is. I think I was honestly traumatized by walking in on him with his ex, because I have legitimate panic attacks and flashbacks to the smells and sights of walking in on him, and I still have trust issues with my current SO. Despite him being wonderful to me, it's more like I can't trust myself in my judgment of character. I thought my ex was so sincere and amazing, and he cheated on me multiple times. So why can't my current sincere and amazing SO is my train of thought, if that makes sense. I get surges of hatred for my ex sometimes if something reminds me of him, even in the slightest. I go into jittery panics whenever my current SO does or says something that my ex did to cover up his affair. Sorry, I was doing homework. I have to meet with my group for our project, and even, I have to work tonight. I just know how easy it was for my ex to cheat. I was actually helping him cheat towards the end, since I somehow became the other woman. I inadvertently found out he was with his ex again, and I found out so unceremoniously that I still couldn't find it in me to leave. He was just so careless about the way he admitted to seeing her that I thought I was supposed to be okay with it, given how dismissively he said it, like, oh yeah, I'm with her. He was so unapologetic and without remorse, and I was all sorts of stupid and confused. Darn you, 3 years ago me. It's made me very jaded and cynical to the point where I think, 1, I'm just the kind of girl you cheat on. 2, I can't trust my own judgment, because if I trusted X and X cheated on me, then if I trust Z, why can't Z cheat on me? And 3, even the best of people are susceptible to infidelity, not based on my experience alone, but other situations I've heard of. Edit. Meant December 2011 in the first line, not 2012. I'm just used to thinking senior year, and I graduated in 2012. Sorry for any confusion. Story 24. We got legally married shortly after the incident, and more than 2 years later, we still are, so pretty good. It's not always perfect, and I'll admit that at times I want to bring it up to win arguments, but I don't because we agreed to move past it completely. Story 25. She cried, said she was sorry. She promised never to do it again. Well, that lasted 2 more years. My ex. It took me years of therapy to get through that. I finally figured it out. It wasn't me. It was her. She cheated on me. She cheated on the guy before me, and she cheated on the guy before him. She also cheated on the guy after me. It's not about not being cut out for monogamy. She will totally agree to monogamy and then lie and scam to get away with cheating. A complete piece of shoot as a human being. Ruined my life. Ruined our kid's life. Ruined her own life. Made everyone in both of our families very unhappy for a while. Not even for a lay, just to stroke her broken fudge ego. Am I over it? Yeah. Doesn't mean I am not going to carry bitter memories for the rest of my life. I mean, who the fudge does this shoot? Doesn't their conscience bother them? No shred of common human decency? Story 26. Divorced. She cheated super early on in our relationship, still dating, before engagement marriage. She admitted it later on, and we got through it. She never cheated again, but her reason for cheating was ultimately what ended our marriage. In the end, we just weren't compatible. She needed more from me than I was able to give. There was no fault in the divorce, just that we weren't the right ones for each other. Story 27. This couldn't be more relevant to me right now. 2 years ago, he slept with someone else. I gave him another chance. He worked on himself, made a lot of positive changes. The past 2 years have been blissfully comfortable and loving. Found out on Sunday that his friend in California is actually a woman he's been in love with for a long time, and he left me for her on Sunday. Let's also add that he only met her in person for the first time a week ago. They're internet friends. Anyway, the moral of the story is some people never change. Up until Sunday, I would have sworn up and down that it could happen, that forgiveness could end in a happy, lifelong relationship. Now I have my doubts. Edit. I should make it clear that he went out to visit her 2 weeks ago after reassuring me endlessly that she was just a friend and she was happily married, but in fact her marriage was failing, and he went out there expressly to see for himself if he wanted to leave me for her. So he lied and went behind my back, and it was infidelity. Story 28. It's good now. It's happy, and we love each other and have a lot of fun. But I've never stopped second-guessing our future, and I still think about the girl he cheated on me with nearly every week, with an unresolved jealousy and a massive inferiority complex. Story 29. My wife cheated on me. Bottom line was that forgiveness was easier than starting over. Had one child at the time, refused to break his home. More importantly, though, was that she regretted it, eliminated the dirtbag from her life, and vowed to make it right. It won't ever be the same again, but that's okay. We're happier than ever. Another baby on the way. More details in my post history. I don't use this account much. Story 30. Done. Gave him another chance after I discovered his affair. I was 10 weeks away from giving birth to our first child. We worked it out, which means he refused to go to counseling and belligerently reminded me it was all in the past anytime I tried to talk through the underlying issues. We had a second kid a few years later. He turned out to be special needs, and my husband started another affair not long after that diagnosis. I caught on to this one a lot faster, and we lived in hell in the same house for 2 more years due to financial constraints. It hasn't been easy since he left, but oh goddamn has my life been better. I never realized how much I dislike being the person I had to be with him. Story 31. Tried to forgive her, swallowed the hurt, and the marriage limped on for a few more years. Her FWB shot himself dead in his bathtub the day my daughter was born. Ex ended up smashing my daughter's head into drywall 4 days short of her 4th birthday. That was the deal breaker, though her infidelity should have been. Still regularly beat myself up over giving her another chance. Story 32. Actually really well. He had been sexting another girl and met up with her once. It destroyed us for a while, and I still get twinges of distrust. But he has proven over and over that it was a one-time thing, spurred on by our mutual depression and stressful relationship. He makes sure I am always comfortable with what is going on. If I get kind of suspicious, he will show me his phone anytime. I don't ask to or even accept his offer to look anymore. We love each other very much, and I would say our relationship is very healthy. If anything, it helped us. We both learned to work on ourselves. We communicate better. We give each other 100. Story 33. First time she cheated on me and I caught her. She cried and begged, and I didn't break up with her. Took a while to trust her again. Moved to Korea together from South Africa. Lived here for 2 years. She went to visit her sister, who was also in Korea, and I had to stay behind and work. Months later, I get home, and she is on the bed crying, saying she can't lie anymore. She cheated on me while she was visiting her sister. She feels terrible. Please forgive her. I do. We finished working in Korea. She wants to travel Central and South America before moving back to South Africa to study some more. We spend a year backpacking from northern Mexico to the southern tip of South America. We get back to South Africa. I struggle to find work because there is no work in South Africa. I freelance as an environmental impact assessment contractor. Work is not steady. I end up having to go to very remote parts of the country to try to keep making some money in between the periods of no work. I get back from the middle of nowhere. I walk into the door. She says we need to talk. She asked me to leave and go to my parents. I am shattered. We were meant to be forever. I go to my folks. We break up officially about a week later. I spend 6 months living with my parents in a terrible state of depression. I guest lecture at universities, but am drinking a lot and don't care. I decide to move back to Korea. Dad and Mom agree that it is a good idea. I moved back. I still speak with her a bit. She then says we shouldn't be friends on Facebook and we need to take time not talking to each other. I agree. She emails me a few months later, says she feels guilty and doesn't want to lie anymore. She had been dating one of my best friends since I basically walked out the door to go home to my folks. I say all I ever wanted was for you to be happy, and if it couldn't be with me, I hope you can be with him. Never speak to her again. I've been back in Korea for 3 years now. Got married just over 6 months ago. I am so thankful for the 6 months I got to spend with my mom and dad. My dad died 3 months ago, and my mom said that those 6 months really made my dad happy to know me as a grown man and not a boy anymore. She tries to contact me. She and my best friend have broken up. I never reply. Story 34. Divorced. My ex-wife slept with a dude she met at my mother's visitation. They were even texting at the funeral. I paid for couples and singles counseling to try and salvage the marriage. Between us, losing a baby, her MS diagnosis, my cousin getting hit by a train, my mom dying, and her throwing me out of the apartment, 2011 and 2012 sucked pretty hard. She kept cheating and just married a dude who fudged over his ex-wife, so they probably deserve each other. I am better than ever. Losing weight, working at a Fortune 500 company, at a job I love, back in school and carrying a 4.0 GPA. And the best thing is that I got some really awesome friends out of the deal that used to be her friends. Story 35. Fudge miserable. I'm a walking cliche. I agreed to marry him because I was pregnant. Fudge knew that it wasn't just a one-time slip-up. Now I spend all my free time stalking and harassing my own husband. I'm in counseling to deal with my trust issues, while my husband lies about naked pictures of himself on his auto backup from 2 weeks ago. I'm so full of anger that I'd rather spend the rest of our lives making him regret bullying me into marriage than divorcing him and let him enjoy being a swinging bachelor into old age. I'm going for the long con, motherfucker. Story 36. We dated another 3 years, moved in together, got a dog together. He broke up with me because he wanted to be alone. 2 weeks later, he was FB official with the woman he had been cheating on me with for over 6 months. I got the dog, and he got a horrible relationship that crashed and burned. I think I won in the end. Story 37. Associate Private Investigator. They almost always cheat again. Case after case, I would wonder, can I show just one person to be innocent? I can't remember a single person with a history of cheating that I investigated that wasn't cheating again. Cheaters are people with a narcissistic personality type. They care more about themselves than other people by too significant a margin. One could argue that people that would go as far as to hire a PI already have some idea that there is something going on, but with the number of paranoid people out there, you would expect some fraction of the incoming cases to be false positives. I made a mistake. Bullshit. The only mistake in their mind was getting caught. They will be more careful next time. That's what makes my job harder. Story 38. Man, I remember when I found out she was cheating. The searing pain of regret, feeling absolutely betrayed and ashamed of myself. I spent a long time blaming myself. I wasn't good enough for her not to cheat on me. I felt absolutely worthless. I sat her down one day. She was all giggles and smiles when I sat her down, but I think she knew something was on my mind. What's the matter, baby? And so on. You could see her squirm. I am sure she knew that I knew. After a few minutes of awkward silence and, look, we need to talk, I just came right out with it. By then she was in tears. I know what you've been doing. I know all about it. I know about your cheating. No, you got it wrong, baby. It's not like that. I never cheated on you, she bawled. I can still remember the way she was so utterly destroyed on the couch. It broke my heart again. I grabbed the box and set it down on the table nearby. We discussed our relationship, where we were and where we were heading. We talked about our finances and our real estate and decided that we would have another go. A fresh start, but with one very important change. From that night on, I was the banker. She hasn't cheated at Monopoly since. Story 39. Married 7 years. 4 months ago, wife admitted to cheating with multiple guys over the past 4 years. Begged for my forgiveness. Told me she disliked herself for hurting me and our family and friends so much. Broke off contact with the current affair. I am back with her, but I don't think I will ever allow myself to be hurt again. If she does it again, then I walk with no heartbreak. That being said, our marriage is amazing right now. We talk and communicate more than we have in the last 6 years. Intimacy life is insane. 3 times a day at least. She deleted all social media accounts, gives me her phone every day, tells me every day how horrible she was to find attention outside of our marriage. Now I still have not fully forgiven and definitely have not forgot what she has done. As of right now, I have a positive outlook for our future in marriage. I do believe people can change if they work hard for it. I also believe that no party is innocent completely if a marriage suffers something like infidelity. I know I had my issues. Not an excuse for cheating, but not to be overlooked either. Story 40. I was on the other end of things, was doing an internship away from home in a town with nobody my age. My boyfriend and I had been dating for about 6 months at the time. I didn't even consider taking a break, nor did I ever imagine cheating on him. I realized I'm no good on my own and ended up cheating on him with a guy from work. I told my SO the very next day and even flew home to work things out. Throughout this time, I realized I had bigger issues at hand, i.e., suppressed feelings, father issues that I had never even thought of before it all happened. I finished my internship and came home to move in with my boyfriend like we had planned. I went to therapy, and we even did couples therapy because I never wanted anything in my life to work as much as this relationship. He was incredibly patient and understanding, not at first, of course, but it helped that I was straightforward from the start. This was hands down the most difficult time of my life, but now I think it happened for a reason. I took our relationship for granted, and now I work each and every day to keep it growing. I have gotten better at communicating what I need. In other relationships, I would have just given up. Yet neither of us would let that happen. It still hurts us both sometimes, like when anything is mentioned about cheating. But our relationship is stronger than ever. He helped me figure out why I did it and handle those feelings. I am incredibly lucky to have found a person who is so understanding. Story 41. We are happily married, but everyone's situation is different. We were having a rough period and technically separated at the time, and I wasn't any sort of angel myself. We both acknowledge we had some growing up to do. It probably only helps that it never got physical. That might have made a difference. I'd be lying if I said I never had any trust issues, but they're getting less and less frequent. Story 42. We stopped fighting about little things because they didn't seem to be that important anymore. After a few months, I realized that she didn't actually still want to be with me. She was only trying out of guilt. If she didn't love me, I wasn't going to make her be with me. We divorced about 2 years ago, and I haven't spoken to her since. Story 43. This has never happened to me, but I saw it on my front page and read a few hundred of these replies. It looks to me as if the vast majority of times it fails miserably. And those times which it doesn't fail seem to be the self-admitted exception or offer a lot of context. Story 44. I don't know how anyone could do this. Honestly, I could never give a second chance to somebody that does not give a shoot about me or my feelings and outright lie to me about it. I mean, it's so simple to just come and tell me you like somebody else or that our relationship is not working. Why lie and cheat to someone that cares about you? Answer: because you're in love. You see him feeling apologetic and think he realizes how horrible it was that he did it, and whenever you're sad, he's the only one that can make you hurt less. How ironic. You seek relief of pain from the person that caused it, but he's the only one that makes you feel better. Or at least that's how I felt when I took my ex back. Thank God I'm not as stupid anymore. Story 45. For anyone struggling with this, surviving infidelity is a surreptitiously, specifically for support and advice in this most painful experience. As for me, 4 years and a lot of hard work later, we're happier than we've ever been before. Getting through a terrible experience together strengthens your connection to each other. And this is a particularly painful, personal, emotional, terrible experience. So the benefits are mostly in those areas. We just got strong enough that we decided to have children together. It's a lot of hard work. I almost left several times and so did she. But we got through the worst of it in about a year and through almost all of it in about 2. Story 46. I cheated on her after 3 years, and things had been going terrible for 6 months. I wasn't sure I cheated because she stormed out on me and gave me the silent treatment for 3 weeks. I thought we had broken up. This is how my previous relationship ended, and decided 100 that we were going to if we had not. That night, my bud stormed into my house as I was sleeping, thinking I was dead and was asking, "Are you dead? Hello, are you dead?" I had pretty much become a hermit at this point. He dragged my sorry, no good jerk out for cheer-up drinks, and very persistent, lady decided to be my rebound, which I very rudely declined until our friends forced us into bed together. I spoke to my SO because I understood that was the point we were never going to get back together. That was a slap in the face because I was pretty much wishing it was my SO the whole time while doing the evil deed. We met so I could clear the relationship properly and respectfully instead of just never talking again. She had the same intention because she handed a note after which had pretty much everything I said to her. I decided I couldn't tell her immediately about the sleeping with someone. I guess it was nice to see her smile through the melancholy of our somewhat tender and loving breakup. We organized to trade our stuff a week later and she wanted a hug. I refused. I told her immediately what had happened and she grabbed me like a bear despite my protest and said, "I'm not doing this. I'm never letting go." She told me about a guy she had been getting a bit chatty with, and I said, I am not going to jeopardize that for her. We didn't immediately get back together, but we have never let go of each other since. We talked and talked and talked so much about what happened. Over and over again, and the more I pushed away, the more she demanded to be let in. I'm not really sure how we ended back together. It has been about 7 months now, and no point prior to what happened have we ever communicated so well, loved each other so much, and generally just cared about each other. I knew I loved her a lot before it happened, but now I feel like I would die 1,000 deaths just to see her smile, which is very surreal for me because I never had strong family bonds or relationships in my life. I have always found it very easy to let go of things I am attached to, possessions, people, hobbies, etc., etc. I guess if she ever decides to hurt me now, I am 100 at her mercy. Edit. No, Reddit. Please don't gild this. It is a terrible thing. Story 47. I was with the guy from the time I was 15 until I was 20 feet. We took a couple breaks in between, but were together the majority of that time. He cheated on me more times than I can remember. But I was a teenager, so I kept giving him second chances. Ended up having a baby together in 2008. Got married in 2009. Got legally separated in 2011. And legally finalized the divorce in February of this year. He doesn't see or talk to our daughter unless he thinks he has a chance of getting me back, which will never happen again. Moral of the story, once a cheater, always a cheater. Don't waste your time, people. Seriously, there's so much happiness in the world. You just have to be free enough to find it, not held back by misery. Story 48. Honestly, I don't know how I got over it, but I did. I just told myself that if she truly loves me, that she will work at it. She did. We lived together at the time in a one-bedroom apartment that we both paid the rent for, and it was right outside of campus, so I had nowhere else to go. And for some reason that helped. It all worked out somehow. I trust her completely again. I guess it might be due to the fact I am a very forgiving person. I find the best in everyone. We are going on 5 years and have never been better. Honestly, can say I will marry her. Story 49. She cheated again. I caught her the second time and I left her. As far as I know, she is still with the dude she cheated on me with. I'm fudge in the head. I haven't been the same since, and I have a hard time with relationships and trust now. I got to keep my dog, though, so I got that going for me. Love my Pibble. Story 50. After she cheated on me with one of my best friends on my birthday, we worked it out for almost another year. Then after we ended it on a decent note, I found out through the grapevine she had cheated on me multiple times during our relationship. Huge bummer, and I'm still struggling to trust anyone, even my closest friends. I still believe in second chances because people make mistakes, but it has left me scarred. Story 51. Not technically cheating, but cheating's second cousin. This is a long story and I don't expect it to get any attention. But lately writing this stuff out has been a great way for me to analyze it in a clearer fashion and come to terms with my current situation. To keep a long story short for anyone who just wants a quick answer, trust was lost and never fully recovered, catalyzing the end of a 4-year relationship. A few years ago, she met up with a polyamorous couple while acting in a musical for a local theater. She told me that they were interested in getting into some group intimacy with us, which was something I had expressed interest in from the beginning of the relationship, but we had never had an opportunity to explore. I agreed to meet with them and see what was up. After a somewhat awkward dinner with them, I had a strange feeling about the arrangement that kept me up one night with anxiety. I decided to look at my GF's phone to see what was really going on, and I was deeply upset by the messages the guy was sending my GF and what she was saying back to him. I started hyperventilating in bed, and that woke her up, and I told her what I saw and that I really didn't like what was going on. I came to realize that basically the other girl in the poly relationship had zero interest in either of us. And basically all that was happening was the guy wanted to fudge my GF and she wanted to fudge him. She was upset that I didn't trust her and went through her phone and I was upset that my fears were validated. We had a rocky month after that, but she stopped talking to them and things went back to normal. But we had sort of opened a conversation about having a more open relationship, as I think we both realized that we wanted a little bit more intimacy than just what we could each provide for each other. I told her I would be open to her talking to and possibly sleeping with other men or women in the future, as long as she was totally transparent about it, and I would have the same privilege and responsibility. A few months later, a mutual friend that I had been attracted to since before our relationship started began to flirt with me. I talked about her with my GF, and she gave me permission to have intimacy with her. We did end up hooking up once a little later, and that was the end of that. My GF gave no signs of being upset by it, and a few months later, I proposed to her. A few months later, she goes out with that same mutual friend and another female friend, and later that night brings both of them home with her, and we had a quasi-foursome in which they mostly interacted with just her, and I got to watch and engage in some light petting, which was nice, I guess. Afterwards, we were both happy with the outcome, and there were no signs that being less than monogamous was a problem in our relationship. Fast forward to about 6 months later, and she meets another woman, and they share a mutual attraction. She tells me that she wants to have intimacy with her, and I gave her my permission. They had a night together, and it didn't bother me. Everything seemed to be fine, and our wedding was still on track. A couple of months after that, I lost my job suddenly. I applied to a few places and got turned down and became depressed. About 2 months after I lost my job, I noticed she was acting different towards me. We agreed to postpone the wedding, despite still being able to afford it. She basically told me a few days later, though, that if I didn't get my shoot together fast, it was going to be a problem for us. For the second time, my anxiety caused me to look into her private communications, and I read a conversation with her best friend that took place after the ultimatum. Essentially, she talked about how she had other people just waiting for her to say she was single, and she was looking forward to everyone lining up for their turn. I confronted her on this and was dumped the next day, July 29th of this year. I'll spare the extra details, but we went from being engaged and in a 4-year relationship to no longer speaking to each other in a span of a couple of months. And I think the trust I lost in her the first time she brought up non-monogamy was the inception of this fractured trust. So neither of us really cheated on each other, but lack of transparency on her end led to suspicion on my end. And when I acted on that suspicion, it broke whatever trust she was pretending to have for me. I'm still dealing with the end of the relationship, and it's harder some days to not think about her. But I sometimes wish I had ended things when I realized she was trying to trick me into letting her sleep with another guy under the guise of group intimacy. The lesson I learned is that trust is hard to build and easy to destroy, and I'm a jealous sort of person. An open relationship is not the sort of thing I am cut out for. I know I made my share of mistakes, and I take responsibility for my failings in the relationship. I also know that I can't be with someone who keeps secrets and speaks poorly of me behind my back. So I've come to the conclusion that the relationship ending before the wedding was probably the best outcome. Story 52. It gradually started to improve until she cheated on me again. Ended up leaving me for him 2 days after our anniversary. They got married a few months later and are still together. I haven't had a successful relationship since, and I'm at the point where I can't bring myself to try hard enough for one anymore. She won, I lost. Story 53. In contrast to most other people's responses, we are still together and stronger than ever. Her cheating forced us both to critically analyze our relationship, which led me to discover I dropped the ball massively. Now, I'm not saying it was all my fault. She fudged up and she knows it, and I certainly didn't let her off because I'm whipped, etc. But given the circumstances surrounding it, I couldn't let her shoulder all the blame. She's not from the UK, and her mom fell critically ill. I should note that my wife and her mother have an incredibly close relationship. They are like best friends. She naturally flew immediately back home to her mother's bedside, and I stupidly prioritized my work rather than doing what I should have and be a supportive husband. One thing led to another, and my wife simply took comfort from one of her friends out there, and, well, things happened. Was I mad? Hell yes. But we have worked through our problems, and honestly, things couldn't be better. Now, 4 years later, the trust is back where it used to be, and it's well and truly in the past. Cheating isn't always a relationship killer, and it's not always an indication it will happen again. Just to add, though, for a bit of sweet closure, I did meet the guy it happened with when we both went to visit her family on a holiday, purely by chance. He got exactly what he deserved for nailing my wife, and it wasn't pretty. Felt bloody great. Story 54. I am the SO who cheated emotionally. It would have been physical if given the chance. This other person in my life made me extremely happy, and I fell head over heels during a very difficult time. We lived in different states, though an opportunity arose that we could see each other in the month of January 2015. I was considering it. I was ready to pack up my things and go. Fortunately, I broke down and told my SO, after feeling so guilty over the thought of having intimacy with someone else. I was so conflicted. I explained I had to know if this other person was really someone I thought was for me, or if my mind was playing tricks. In the end, after much consideration with back and forth, I decided against it. I'm not going to lie and say that I was happy with my decision at the time. I wanted to be with this other person so bad, even if for a short amount of time, just so I could have been a part of their day at that time and vice versa. I wanted that memory. I was selfish. It took my SO some time to get over it. Some days were great, while others resulting us in fighting. I would say it took us till about summertime to get back to ourselves. I am so happy now that I made the decision that I did today, though. It would have ended very ugly otherwise. I would have broken the person I love with every fiber of my being because I was a scared, lonely person who sought comfort in someone else. I am extremely grateful to have been given another chance. I will always do my best to prove to my SO that it wasn't a mistake to have given me one. Story 55. We've been together almost 7 years total. At year 3, he cheated on me and ended up coming clean about the whole deal. It was rough. We tried to make it work, but it was pretty miserable for a while, and I eventually ended up leaving. The time apart was the best thing for us. I listened to people rag on him, tell me how much better off I was without him, that he was a bastard for what he did, etc. But I just ended up feeling like our mistakes don't really define us. I wasn't going to throw all the good parts of him away because of a moment of weakness, a bad decision, especially one I know I just as easily could have made. We gave things another shot after taking a few months off, and things have been good ever since. I still waver in my trust sometimes, but it gets better over time. I feel closer to him having seen his darknesses too, not just the parts I want him to be or that he wants me to see. Story 56. I was in college at the time. I was about 18 or 19. She was 21 or 22. First 3 months were kind of awkward. Her entire friend base was basically made up of ex-BFFs, so I got a lot of angry stares and passive-aggressive digging comments whenever I was around her. It made me uncomfortable, but at the same time, I kind of felt awesome because I was with her, and they weren't, so, I said. 3 months in, she went to visit a gay friend in Florida. A few days later, I get a call that she is in love with him. A day after that, I get a call that, NVM, he's still gay. We're good. 3 months after that, 6 months in, she returns to her old hometown in Georgia. While there, she met up with an abusive ex-BF from high school. A few days later, I get a call that she's in love with him. She's telling me that he's a better man than I'll ever be, blah, blah. She was smitten. So at this point, any rational person would say, wow, this isn't really working out. We gave it the old college try, and things aren't really going according to plan. So let's call it quits. Of course, 18 or 19-year-old me was not rational in any way. So cue the why you do this and general fighting to keep her around. She came home, packed up, ready to move to GA and elope with said BF, and I, her parents, her best friend, convinced her to stay. To her mother's defense, despite not liking me, she basically gave me the best advice anyone has ever given me. She told me that there is no way we would bounce back from this, and that the trust was likely gone. It would be in our best interest if we ended things now and went on our merry ways. Being young and stupid, I politely told her, to hell with said I can do it, and ran off towards a sunset of 2.5 years of misery and torment. There were a few more instances here and there of her falling in love with random guys on online video games, in her classroom, etc., etc. But honestly, the biggest attractor after that was me. I was consumed with mistrust. I became the biggest jerk in the world. I brought that shoot up every chance I got because butt hurt. Eventually, after years of this really messed up cycle of me trying to break up with her and her convincing me to stay, then her trying to leave me for some guy, and me convincing her to stay back and forth endlessly, she finally met Mr. Right. I don't really know who he is, never met him, or even his name. I just know 2 things. She met him randomly at an airport, and he is the best thing that ever happened to either of us. He got us out of a horrible cycle and gave her the resolve to finally do what I hadn't done for years. I was sore about the breakup for all of 2 days before realizing how freaking amazing it was to be out of the situation. I can only imagine she felt the same. 3 years. And it took 2 days to completely get over. Honestly, the relationship was done after 3 months, and I just refused to accept that. I thank my lucky stars every day that she met what's his name, and count him among the greatest bros to ever have lived. One to you, unnamed airport bro. Story 57. I cheated on my then boyfriend, now husband. I was named he was 22. We had been together 5 years and things were just not right. Instead of being mature, kind, and respectful to him, I cheated. Then we broke up for 3 months. We needed to break up. I think that part did us both good. He realized that his fear of moving out and upsetting his mother, whole different story, was not worth losing me. I realized he was amazing and I should be willing to wait for him because he was worth it. Or, at least talk about our issues like adults. We got back together, got married 6 months later. We have been together 14 years now, have a 5-year-old son, and our life is pretty awesome. We are best friends, really and truly. Like all relationships, we have issues. He is messy. I nag. He buys too many video games. I have an obsession with throw pillows, etc. Trust is not an issue at all. I am actually leaving for a week over Thanksgiving to visit my brother and sister-in-law. And in general, he never questions where I am going or what I am doing or who I am with. He says it doesn't even occur to him to worry. I have been very honest with him about it and how I would understand if he didn't trust me. He has said it is not an issue. He feels like it was a mistake made in a bad situation, and we are both more mature and can handle bumps in our road differently. I still feel sick to my stomach when I think about hurting him, but I know I would never, ever, ever do it again. Ever. I love every bit of my life, and I don't think either of us can imagine spending forever with anyone else. Story 58. A lot of my friends know my actual Reddit account, so naturally I made this. To try and speak to this from the opposite angle. I've been married for 3-4 years now, but that chapter of my life is coming to a close, and it's entirely my fault. At the start of our marriage, I fudge up pretty bad. I cheated on this woman 3 times all told. It's terrible, I know, and I really don't like to talk about it. At the time, I was the sort of person who enjoyed the game of manipulating people. How far could I take this? How many lies could I tell that they'd believe? Could I make this woman, with a boyfriend of her own, want me, a married mad? That's all it was to me. I was stupid and selfish beyond all reason. Easily the worst I've ever been as a person. I don't think I could get lower than I was. For the first 2 instances, while I did feel some sort of pain at getting caught, I continued. The third, though, it was the final one. Something about the way she reacted or how it all went down was different. I loved her, before, during, and after, in my own way. I know a lot of people would readily dismiss that as false. How can you love someone and do that to them? It's hard to explain, really, and unless you've been in a pit that dark, it's hard to understand. I'd tell myself no more, that was it. I couldn't hurt her again and expect her to stay. And twice those empty promises to myself fell through. All 3 of those incidents transpired within the first 6 mois of the marriage. I convinced her to give me one final chance, that I could change and she wouldn't regret it. She was so kind, so loving, and her feelings for me strong enough that despite every fiber of her being telling her to boot me, she gave me one final chance. I spent the next 3 years struggling to change, doing everything I could to be a good husband with what I could provide and make up for what I did. However, the relationship wasn't perfect, even with my newfound character. Scars like that go so deep, aren't something you can just expect to be forgiven over. Not really. As time went on, it became clear that she would never trust me again. A part of me, for a time, conceded that this was my retribution. That in exchange for my past, for the damage I dealt, I'd have to spend the rest of my life being doubted and having every step scrutinized. Though the more we argued, the more I had to assure her that I wasn't doing anything, the more difficult it was to maintain this stance. Every woman I knew was a whore. Every friend I had was suspect. Every action or stance I took an attempt to protect myself or lie or choose friends over the marriage. We had a lot of good moments. She made me the person I am today. She evened out my temper, saved me from the world I was in, the walls I built around myself to justify my worthlessness. She saved me. Despite that, despite knowing I had changed and acknowledging my changes, she couldn't trust me. In moments of clarity, and when we were in a good mood, getting along, she'd compliment me. She'd tell me she was proud of me, and looking back, I want to cry with how good that made me feel. Yet then there were times I'd come home late or stay up too late with my friends playing games online or at their house, and the accusations would fly. A hug was as good as a written confession that I'd slept with the woman. There was nothing I could do to rationalize it. Again, I struggled through this. I accepted it as my penance. In times of silence, though, alone, I'd dwell on what this would mean. How long would this continue? What if it never stopped? What if we fought forever? Should I only have male friends to make up for this? When she tried to ignore the fear in her heart, dismiss it as irrational, it would build up and overwhelm her. The stress would cause her to explode, even though through it all, a part of her knew I wasn't who I was. It was with all of these questions in mind, not owning a house of our own yet, and having no children, I sat down one night and thought for hours. On my own, should we stay together? Can I make her happy? Is this relationship healthy for either of us? I decided it wasn't and approached her with the idea of divorce. It wasn't pretty at first, but with time, she came to see my point. Our divorce was very amiable. That portion of the story is uneventful. Today, still, I miss her. I think of her and smile, then cry, and do my best to roll back over and fall asleep. I have to be strong, though. This was the future I prepared for myself. I'll never be able to really understand what my thoughts were when I look back on how I acted before. I regret it with all my heart and soul. I dislike the me from those years ago for costing me a woman I know, without a doubt, loved me as pure as she could. I damaged her. I broke a part of her heart that made her beautiful and special. If nothing else, through effort and change and love, I was able to fix that part of her as best I could. She had trusted me with her heart, and I betrayed her more than once. In the wake of that damage, she wasn't able to trust anyone as she used to. Over the years, that part returned. She can trust others again, but she'll never trust me, and that's entirely my fault. I can't speak for every cheater out there, but I regret everything about it. None of it was worth it. I dislike to imagine where I would have been, who I'd be today, if she hadn't given years of her life to fixing me in hopes that we could work. I'll always love her and owe her a debt I'll never be good enough to pay. Just wanted to share that side of it. TLDR. I cheated on my wife 3 times in less than a year at the start of our marriage. She gave me a final chance. 3 years later, I divorced her for her own good. She made me a much better person, but could never trust me again in spite of that. And she deserves someone she could trust and love without fear in her heart of being hurt. I couldn't provide that. Story 59. Obvious throwaway. My wife of 20 years started cheating on me in February of 2015. We have kids together. Think something between Kate plus 8 and the Duggars. I was a miserable prick to her in the beginning of our relationship when I was a teenager, but I thought she had let that go. So now it's 18 years later, and she decides to start looking elsewhere. She's very open about it, and my only choice is let her continue or divorce. She's gone weeks here or there without talking to the guy. Most recently, 5 months, and I thought they were over. I was actually thinking of re-proposing to her, but then she went and did it again. Individual and couples therapy are in full swing. Therapist suggests I need to let her romance run its course and it will die on its own. If we didn't have kids, I'd leave her. The older have a good idea of what's going on, and the younger have an amazing sense as well. Just last week, my youngest gave me a dried up dandelion and asked me to make a wish. I said, I wish that you'll love me forever. And she says, no, Dad, you were supposed to wish that Mommy doesn't love the stranger anymore. That broke my heart more than what my wife is doing. Maybe I'll come back in 6 or 12 months and update so I can stay relevant to the topic. Story 60. Late in the thread, but we are stronger than ever. We both fudge up and cheated. It was our first year of dating, and neither of us had ever been in a serious relationship. We cried, screamed, and realized how stupid we were and how much we missed each other. We talked a lot, and not to sound cheesy, but our love made us closer in the end. It sucked, but I think we wouldn't be the same people we are today without that happening. We just moved in together. Story 61. Well, he cheated a fudge ton more, and I eventually dumped his jerk. My life is infinitely better now without him in it, and I have the most amazing boyfriend ever now. He hasn't been able to hold down a girlfriend since. Get out now while you can. Story 62. He keeps asking me to trust him blindly. Then I do, just to find out he's back on Meet Me. Every time I find out, he says he doesn't want to be with me, that it's my fault because I don't trust him anyway, so why not? Blah, blah, blah. The next day, he'll want to cuddle and be all, I love you, etc. For the record, trust is my default. Despite being cheated on in the past and growing up with a horrible cheating father, I still go into any relationship with trust. I only lose that if something is done to make me lose it, like I find you on Meet Me or that you took a girl on a date. I went into this relationship trusting him. We have a son, and he still says he does that shoot because I don't trust him. I only hand out trust once. After it's lost, trust has to be rebuilt. Story 63. Divorced and wife lost custody of all 3 of her children. Wife left in the summer of 2014 with my daughter and 2 stepkids. She lived with an ex of hers, but she hid it and lied about it. Even when I found out, I took her back when she showed back up at the house, mainly because I wanted my kids back. I suppose I also thought I still loved her. November last year, she cheats again, and I take her back. In January this year, she cheats a 3rd time, but also meth comes into the picture. Got a lawyer, took my daughter from her, have sole custody, and my two stepkids' dad has sole custody of them. I'm glad I didn't leave her in the summer of 2014. I'd never had been able to take custody of my daughter then. I waited and gave her chances, and basically gave her the time she needed to screw up so badly that she lost her children. Sold my home and everything I owned and moved 112 hours away to my mother's. Now I'm saving up money, living in the DFW area with a new great job, and working on my goals of rebuilding and having a great life with my little 12-year-old princess. Went from a 1,500 square foot 3-bedroom home with everything I ever needed to owning enough items that fit in a 7x10 storage room and living in my mom's office, just to rid myself of that atrocious woman. But I get to wake up and see my beautiful daughter's face every morning, so it's all worth it. Story 64. Oh boy, a girl I started dating cheated with her ex a month into the relationship, told me about it, apologized, and asked me to stay with her. She said she was unsure about moving on from her last boyfriend, but realized halfway through the act she wished she hadn't. I told her that it would take me a lot of time to get over it, and she'd have to work hard to regain my trust. I snooped her phone sometimes, never a sign of cheating again. Eventually read her diary from that week, and she was eliminate herself over how stupid she was for cheating. We are together, and I trust her completely. That said, I went through a few shoot months, and for most people, I'd say moving on is the right thing to do after a cheating spouse. It worked out for me, but it took a long time of doubt and work to get to a point where I believe her. Story 65. He cheated again with a girl that was barely legal. He's a piece of crap. He will never change. Once they know they can get over on you, they just keep repeating the behavior. Number one sign is look at his phone. If he is super secretive with it and never wants to let you go through it, beware. Story 66. After he was caught when our son was 3, he spent the next 17 years making sure I knew I was never good enough. He then walked out with the family,